Everyone. I'm Barbara Hayward, and I'm the host of the podcast Stories from the Soul, and also the Old Girl Spiritual Stuff YouTube channel. This story that I'm going to tell you is only a really small one, and sometimes small stories are really significant. And it was an experience that I've never had before, and I will tell you I've never had since. So it was totally a one-off. Now, um, I was about 39 maybe at the time, 38 and a half. And I was living in Palmerston North in New Zealand, and I had met a lady called Mary, and Mary lived at Helcombe, so I always call her Mary from Helcombe. And Helcombe is just a very small village, maybe 25 k's from Palmerston North, thereabouts. And I met her through the spiritualist shop in Palmerston North. And there's two experiences that happen with her that don't seem connected, but in fact they are connected on a very weird thread. So the first experience that I had with Mary was I was talking about my purpose, and I was over here and I was feeling very lost. Um, I only really had my husband and two of my children, my two children at this stage. And when we came over, as you know, one of my youngest son decided to stay with his father, and the eldest son came with me. And we were over here for about 6 months, and my youngest son decided to come over for a holiday for 2 weeks and never went back. And so life was unfolding, and I was talking to Mary about what I could be doing, what's my purpose, where am I going. And there was a lady in New Zealand around Wanganui, and her name was Kathy Clark. And people from all around the country used to go and fly to visit Kathy Clark for a reading. And when I talk about these days that I mostly talk about are well before internet. Internet wasn't even anywhere on the scene for us at that stage. So we'd be looking at 1989, maybe around that age. So around that time. So she was really famous. She was perfect at what she did. And she was saying to me that she was so good at what she did, she predicted even how she was going to die, not when, but how. And that's exactly how she did die in a plane accident, actually. And she said, "You know what, Barb? We're looking for a New Zealand clairvoyant. We're looking for a medium clairvoyant. Why don't you step into her shoes?" And I said to her, "Leave it with me. I'll go away and think about it." So I would go and visit Mary every 2 weeks, which we call that a fortnight in Australia and New Zealand. And so I went back and I said to her, "I've been really thinking about what you had to say about Kathy Clark and being the second Kathy Clark. But what I've decided to do instead is to become the first Barbara Hayward." And hence my journey begun, um, my conscious journey of being that at that stage. Now that story goes over there. It was some time later, and it may have even been 10 to 12 months later, I can't remember exactly. And we had friends from Melbourne that were coming over to visit, but they were going to do a North and South Island trip as well. So, being spontaneous as Dennis and I are, I said to Den, "Why don't we just go up to the airport and meet them?" Now, to go to the airport from where we lived and the route that we were going to go was about 10 hours. I mean, it was a trip from lower North Island right up to Auckland. So anyway, we decided to do it. We'll take the two boys and we'll go up because this is a way that I hadn't been before, and it's a way for us to get to see the country. So off we trot, and we're going through a place called, or we're coming into a place called Taihape. And Dennis said, look, the Taihape is really famous for a ravine that it's got, and we've got to go over the ravine. Why don't we stop after we've got off the ravine, and you and the guys can go and have a look? So we did that. We went over the bridge and we stopped, and I'm there, and I've got my two boys next to me, and this unholy energy came over me. And it was the most scariest, frightening time that I think I've ever been in, ever been in. And I've been in some situations. And as I'm looking over, there's a ledge and everything. It's very safe. But I had this feeling that was so strong that I wanted to push Harley and my youngest son, who shall not be named, over the edge. I wanted to push him over into the ravine. And was so strong. And I screamed out to them, could you get off the bridge, please? Just get off the bridge. I'll talk to you later. So they must have heard something in my voice that they said, Mum's serious about this. So off they went. And I had to catch my breath because I've never been in this sort of situation before. And so I gathered my wits and I gathered my breath, and I got off. I was shaking. I hopped in the car. I was crying. I wasn't hysterical, but I could have gone there. And the boys were really shattered. It's like, what happened? I said, I have no idea what happened. It was the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. And so I just wanted to push both of you boys over the edge. I said, I couldn't even fathom doing that. And I just wanted to get you over the edge. Anyway, I was crying, and we went off on the trip and we let it go. And we met our friends and we stayed overnight. And then I can't remember if we stayed 1 or 2 nights, but we're on the way back. And Den said, let's go back the same way. Because I think there was like 2 or 3 ways we could have got back to Palms North. So we got to Taihape, and he said, do you want to try again? And I said, well, it's just so weird. So he stopped, and I said, boys, please don't come with me. Please don't come. I can't trust myself. I got out of one situation. I don't know that I've got the strength to do that again. Well, I went to walk onto the bridge because there's a pathway there because people walk up and down the roads. They ride bikes, and New Zealand is a country where people do a lot of long distance bike riding. And do you know, I couldn't even get onto the edge of the bridge. I froze. I absolutely froze. And I just couldn't do it. And I'm crying, and I was paralyzed. So I get back into the car and off we drive. So when it was time to go and see Mary at Halcombe, I was telling her the same story. And I said, I have no idea what happened. No idea whatsoever. It was one of the strangest, weirdest things. And I've had some weird things happen to me after that, and nothing has been as weird. So she took me into like a hypnotic meditation, if you like. And she said, there's got to be an answer for it to be so violent and so vicious and so dramatic. There had to be a reason behind it. So she took me into back in time. So you could call it a past life if you like, you could call it whatever you like. But I went to this place where I was a seer, SEER, for a very, very well-known person in a region somewhere on the globe. And I was very good at my work. I was a very, very good, we would call it clairvoyant now, but I was a seer. I was an oracle. And some people around this person, the boss, we'll call him the boss, they they didn't want me to be alive because I kept warning this person about lots of things, tribes and coming to whatever. So they grabbed me in the middle of the night and they took me to a ravine, and two of them threw me off, and I was murdered. That was the end of my life. And the two people that did that were my sons in this lifetime. I hold no malice because they're different lifetimes. My boys have been extraordinary sons. And if they were he came back to make up for it, they certainly have 100 times over. But that was the first and only experience that I've had in that sort of past life experience. And it made complete sense because when I looked at my work over the time, I kept myself hidden a lot. And where it comes in was that I had been afraid to be the greatness that I had been and that I'd come down this lifetime to be. Because when that had happened this lifetime, I was murdered for it. And this lifetime, with my sons at the bridge, I had the nous with me to get them off, immediately get off, because I couldn't trust what I was going to do. I did know that I was going to push them off. I knew that. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't handle that. It wasn't part of who I am. And so that's why I got them off and I yelled at them so severely. But that was really interesting that it was like sometime before, several months before, I had decided to be the first Barbara Hayward. And now I understood why I had been pulled back in allowing myself to be seen and known. And as I said, I can go over. I never ever stop. If we ever go through Taihape, I never stop at the bridge. I'm not going to test it out. I've had the experience. I don't need to go through it again. I have the understanding and the awareness. And the reason I won't tell you who I was a seer to, because it makes no difference to this lifetime. I'm really strong. I had very firm beliefs on past lives and things like that in the past, and this experience allowed me to become stronger with that. And so it has no relevance to who that person was to this lifetime. So, have you had a story like this? Have you had an experience like this? If you would like to share that, I would love. I'm creating a book out of all our stories. If you would like to write to me, stories from the soul 26 at gmail.com. Stories from the soul 26 at gmail.com. Share your experience of a past life, something like that, if that's happened to you. Any experience with the angels, with the unseen and the unheard, please send me your stories. Hope you've enjoyed it. I haven't thought about that story in such a long time, and maybe that's another one that I put down for my eyes only. And until next time, it's Barbara Hayward here, ka kite anoa.